And then he tried to get guns. And this is a serious thing because it was reported yesterday that a 16-year-old secondary 4 kid, Singaporean, has been detained under the ISA, the Internal Security Act, for planning terrorist attacks on 2 mosques in Singapore. Now, this kid self-radicalized himself. Self-radicalized himself. That sounds pretty right still, right?
He was self-radicalized.
And he was kind of drawn in. Well, first of all, he's always been drawn in, apparently, according to the ISD, that he is drawn into gruesome stuff. That he's been to ISIS sites, and he saw the beheadings, executions of the Ethiopian Christians, and that made him mad. Then the recent Christchurch in New Zealand, the attacks by the Australian guy on 2 mosques, right? And he actually videotaped the thing with his phone.
Yes,
on him.
Tarrant.
Now this kid then went about. He actually bought a tactical vest. Okay, he actually managed to get a tactical vest, and then he tried to get guns.
A machete.
No, the machete came later.
Then
it was realized that, Singapore, our gun laws are so tight. You can forget it, man. There's no way you can get one. Yeah. Even if you get a BB gun, you're going to get arrested, or a replica even. And so he tried to get machetes. Now, based on that Shopee story we just talked about, can you imagine that there were machetes for sale in Singapore on Carousel? Carousel was very quick to answer that, we just need to tighten this up because we don't condone these sort of things. They're very quick to do that, which is great. Now, this kid's plan, and he planned it to a T. So it wasn't just some form of, teenage, adolescent kind of fantasy. He planned it out. He doesn't have a car license. He wanted to steal his dad's Visa card or credit card to buy these items so that he could get his mission done. And he planned which mosque to go to. He even changed his mind on one because he planned the routes to get in and actually hack people, And he was confident of even hitting arteries and all that and causing major damage. He was also prepared because he had 2 outcomes that he knew that could happen to him. One is that he's caught. The other is that he will be killed. So it's he was prepared for this. Now, this boy is a Protestant Christian. He developed a hatred for Muslims. Okay, and he felt that Muslims were hell-bent to really go to war and persecute Christians. And that was his stand. Now, the good thing is that he was caught. I think it was pretty good to read this, that Minister Shanmugam also said the same thing. That, he's a young boy, right? I'm not going to quote him. I'm just going to, it's not verbatim, yeah? So he's a young boy, and hopefully being a teenager, he can change, right? And they could counsel him and put him through, what's the word for it? As a detainee, they will rehabilitate him, right? And hopefully he comes about, okay? They're not going to stop his studying, apparently. They're going to help. So this is like reaching out and helping. But he did say this, that look, in countries where there is no ISA, you cannot arrest anyone until they've done something.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
But in our case, we could nip it in the bud. That one, quote unquote. Nip it in the bud. Which, in this respect, I kind of agree.
Yep.
I kind of agree. But the thing is that he is 16 years old.
Shocking.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What
do you guys think?
Okay, there's a lot to unpack here.
Yeah.
Certainly, I think that 16 may seem very young, but he obviously has thought this very through. Seems like a well-educated and intelligent guy to be able to do all of this research and all of that. And this self-radicalization and this radicalization in general is actually much more common than I think many people realize. It is prevalent on the internet. I think you only have to look at, for example, some of Donald Trump's supporters and the kind of crazy views that they have. About QAnon and all of that, to realize that it is not as rare as we think it is. As a Christian myself, I'm very aware that there are Christian groups, even here in Singapore, that have a very low tolerance, a view of other religions. I think that they're very careful to tread the line here in Singapore because of the obvious laws. But it's not uncommon, sadly, for them to have views that are antithetical to other religions. And I think online, this kind of hate flourishes a lot. If you want to look for it, it's very easily found. Okay. Kudos definitely to Singapore government for unearthing this plot. I'm just amazed they managed to do it and to have so much detail and to really track, to see all the things that this guy had done. Without the Internal Security Act, I think that we would really be in like other countries whereby you can't do anything until something happens.
And then you have to just put the flowers.
And it's interesting also that they are not going to have a public trial about this, which I think is the right thing to do because it will exacerbate the kind of feelings between religions. Because, Lee Kuan Yew said this a long time ago, and I think it's very true. He said that, religious instability and religious thought like that is a powder keg that can really ignite the country. We have to proceed very carefully.
I agree that, like you both of you were saying, that the right-wing extremism is really rearing its head. But you're talking about getting radicalized online. But I think I want to go in a bit deeper and say that, we have to be so alert at a time like this because you may need to make sure that over and above online, you also create an environment at school, at home, around us everywhere, amongst friends, where prejudice, stereotyping, partisan views around religion and race is not discussed in this kind of negative way, even informally, even round the dining table. I have seen it, I'm sad to say, where sometimes because of stereotyping, you'll have parents or there's a terrorist attack, I tell you, those Muslims. Stereotyping. And then there's a young kid somewhere, and you're taking in like sponge that, oh my God. So we need to also examine and relook how the germination of the idea comes about.
Sure.
We have to be really conscious
valid
about
point.
that.
Yes.
Because it's all around us.
Yep.
There are prejudices, there's right-wing extremism, like you said, the Proud Boys and Jewish-Palestinian situation. And it's everybody, there's a conflict situation. You go, you're young, you don't know what to pick from. Like in this case, the boy actually thought ISIS equals Islam.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's all hitting him.
Yeah.
And then he uses all that energy to plan this.
I think that's
so
a good
we have
point.
To be
I think that even
careful.
if people are not radicalized in the sense that this guy is, there is still too much of the prejudice and the hate against other races, other religions that's floating around.
No, and it's discussed very casually, Gilbert.
You know what I couldn't stand?
Just discuss.
I couldn't stand the comments some people made on some of the broadsheet sites online about this story and how they go pinpoint a religion to. There's some of these comments, the vitriol, the ignorance, and these people really think, that they are so self-righteous.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
And I think that there's a need actually for these sites themselves, whether it's Today or Straits Times or Mothership or whatever it is,
CNA.
to police their own sites.
Oh,
the
that's
comments
interesting.
there.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I see comments there which are really shocking.
Yeah.
And they are not removed, and they
reinforce these beliefs.
Exactly. And you want to talk about censorship and free speech? No, there is a limit to it. Hate speech is not free speech.
Yeah.
That is something that we have to be very clear about. Even in the United States, the Supreme Court has ruled, hate speech is not protected, and you cannot get away with that.
You see how far hate speech have been masked and under the guise of this is got to be real because someone in political power
Yes.
is saying it, so therefore it should be correct, and manages to convince 70 plus million Americans
Exactly.
that this is correct.
Yeah, exactly. And here in Singapore too, I do want to call this out because I think it's very important. There's been a rising xenophobia in Singapore that is really repugnant. People think nothing about saying things about these Indians, coming to our country, or these whatever it is, and
Yes.
we know
I've
that the
heard that.
disgruntled
I've
people
heard that,
are the ones who are online. These are the losers in life, and they blame other people for the problems in their own life. And you guys really are losers, when you do something like that.
When Gilbert goes on this tirade, my gastric starts to act up, man.
No,
You're innocent. You don't have to worry.
No, I think the point is to be aware, to be conscientious, especially when I reach out and talk to the mothers,
also for us,
to the mothers, to the
yes.
parents, because you see, that's where it could start.
Yes.
Because you just throw a comment and say, oh, that stupid neighbor, blah, blah, blah. These Indians are the curry. And it's just being like sponge being taken in by children around you.
Yes.
And that's very, very... You have to be alert about that kind of thing.
You know what I feel so sorry for where this kid is concerned, and everyone should focus on that. His family, his folks, and especially if any of these people who write hate stuff like this, and if they are parents themselves and they write these things, shame on
on
you.
them.
Because
And
the
I
first
think
thing
that
you
there
should
needs
reach
to
out
be-
to,
yeah.
your heart should go out to his
parents,
folks.
yeah.
Can we say, oh, but it's their fault too? They didn't raise him right. They didn't even know he's doing. Hey,
Yeah.
come on, man! It
No.
could happen to you.
It can happen. Yes, you never
It
know.
could happen to you.
You think you know what your kids are doing all the time or what they're doing online?
Okay, guys.
Oh, you'd be surprised.